I'm Tori, 32 years old, and 2 weeks ago, my sister accidentally added me to a family group chat called Real Family Only. 847 messages, 7 years. They called me the charity case. They placed bets on when I'd fail. They celebrated when my marriage fell apart. My own mother wrote, and I'm quoting her exactly, "At least she doesn't have kids, one less grandchild to worry about." I screenshot everything, every single message, didn't miss a period. Then I sent just one text. "Thanks for the receipts." What happened next at my grandmother's 70th birthday party? I don't think anyone in my family will ever forget it. Before I continue, if you find this story worth hearing, take a second to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely want to. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let me take you back 6 weeks, to the day my grandmother called about her party. 6 weeks ago, my phone rang at 7 in the morning. Grandma Eleanor's name lit up the screen. "Tori, honey, I'm having a party for my 70th. I want you there." My chest tightened. Not from dread, from surprise. Grandma was calling me directly. Usually, family announcements went through the group chat, the one I assumed I'd simply been forgotten in. Of course, Grandma, I wouldn't miss it. After we hung up, I sat on my bed for a long time, thinking about the past 10 years. Every Saturday morning driving her to cardiology appointments. Every Sunday afternoon cleaning her house while she napped. Every late night sitting beside her when loneliness crept in and she just needed someone to talk to. Megan, my younger half-sister, she showed up for Christmas photos, posted them on Instagram with captions like, "Family is everything," and heart emojis. 50,000 followers ate it up. I never said anything. What was there to say? 3 days before the party, I called my mother to ask about the dress code. "Oh, just casual, honey," she said. "Nothing fancy." I believed her. Then I stopped by her house to drop off Grandma's medication. I'd picked it up from the pharmacy on my way from work. Mom was in the kitchen, phone on the counter. A text notification popped up. From Megan. I didn't mean to look, but the preview was right there. "Remember cocktail dress. Photographers coming at 4. My stomach dropped. Casual. She'd told me casual. I set the medication on the counter and left without saying goodbye. Maybe she just forgot, I told myself. Maybe she got confused. But something cold settled in my chest. A feeling I'd been ignoring for years. The next evening, I did something I rarely do. I called Megan. We weren't close. We shared a mother but different fathers, different childhoods, different everything. Still, she was my sister. I wanted to try. "Hey Megan, just calling about Grandma's party. Need help with anything?" Silence, then, "Oh, Grandma invited you too?" Too. The word hung there like a slap. "She called me herself," I said carefully. "Huh." Megan's voice was flat. "I mean, it's a family thing, so, you know." I didn't know. That was the problem. "What does that mean?" "Nothing. Forget it. I gotta go." She hung up. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A voice message from Megan. I pressed play, but it wasn't for me. "Oh my God, she's so annoying. Calling me like we're best friends or something." Megan's voice, muffled, clearly talking to someone else. "She acts like she's such a VIP just because Grandma likes her. I don't get what Grandma even sees in her." Laughter in the background. Then the message cut off. My phone buzzed again. Text from Megan. "Oops, sent that by accident. Don't mind it, lol." I stared at the screen. "Don't mind it." 7 words. That's all she had. I wanted to believe this was just Megan having a bad day. Sisters fought sometimes, right? Said things they didn't mean. But deep down, a part of me knew. This wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time slip. This was just the first time I'd actually heard it. And something told me that voice message was only the tip of a very large, very ugly iceberg. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my apartment, small, quiet, mine, and stared at the ceiling. 32 years old, divorced, living alone, working 60-hour weeks in the ICU because it was easier to care for strangers than to think about my own life. Grandma Eleanor was the only person in my family who made me feel like I belonged. She never treated me like the leftover from my mother's mistake marriage, never made me feel like I was tolerated rather than wanted. When I was 12 and crying because the other kids had dads at the father-daughter dance, Grandma showed up in a suit and bow tie and danced with me all night. But Grandma was 70 now. Her heart wasn't what it used to be. 3 stents, 2 scares, 1 conversation where she held my hand and said, "Promise me you'll be okay when I'm gone." If I lost her, I'd have no one. Not really. I thought about Grandpa's funeral 3 years ago. 200 people packed into the church. I sat in the back row. No one sat with me. No one asked if I was okay. My mother was too busy being comforted by Megan and Aunt Linda to even look my way. That's when Grandma found me. Slipped into the pew beside me. Didn't say a word, just held my hand. I remembered something she said once, almost offhand. "I write everything down, you know. Who does what? Who shows up? Grandma keeps track." At the time, I thought she meant grocery lists, medication schedules. Now I wondered, if I kept staying silent, kept pretending everything was fine, what would I lose? Not just Grandma. I'd lose myself. The memories came uninvited that night, the way they always did when I was tired and alone. 2 years ago. Marcus. My husband of 4 years. I found the texts on a Tuesday. Her name was Jessica. His co-worker. The messages went back 8 months. I called my mother, sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. "Mom, Marcus, he's been cheating. I don't know what to do." A long pause. Then, "Well, honey, you have been working a lot. Maybe if you'd been home more." I hung up. Megan's contribution came via Facebook. I'd posted something vague about going through a hard time, nothing specific, just reaching out. She commented publicly, "Some people just aren't meant to keep a man." That comment got 4 likes. My mother, Aunt Linda, 2 cousins, 4 people in my own family laughing at the worst moment of my life. I deleted the post, deleted Facebook entirely, told myself it didn't matter, they didn't mean it. Family was complicated, but Grandma called every single day that first month. Sometimes we talked, sometimes she just listened to me cry, sometimes she'd say nothing at all, just breathe on the other end of the line so I'd know I wasn't alone. "It's not your fault," she told me once. "Don't let anyone tell you it was." She was the only one. The only one who showed up. The only one who cared. And now, lying in the dark 2 years later, I finally let myself wonder, was there something more going on? Some reason my family seemed almost happy when I failed? Was there somewhere they talked about me? Somewhere I wasn't invited? 4 days before the party. 11 p.m. I was reading in bed, finally starting to relax. My phone buzzed. Notification. "Megan Harper added you to Real Family Only." I blinked. Read it again. Real Family Only. My thumb hovered over the screen. Something cold crawled up my spine. I tapped the notification. The group chat opened. I scrolled up automatically, the way you do when you join a conversation late. And I kept scrolling. And scrolling. The chat was created 7 years ago. Members, Mom, Megan, Aunt Linda, my 2 aunts from Ohio, 3 of my cousins, 8 people total, everyone except Grandma, and everyone except me. For 7 years they'd had a group chat, a place to talk about real family things, and I wasn't in it. For 7 years. My hands started shaking. In the corner of the screen, a small number glowed. 847. 847 unread messages. I checked the most recent one, sent 2 days ago. Aunt Linda complaining about her neighbor's dog. Normal stuff. Nobody had noticed I'd been added. Nobody had said anything. I scrolled to the very beginning, to the first message ever sent, 7 years ago, when this chat was created. It was from Aunt Linda. Finally, a place to talk without you-know-who seeing. Megan replied, "Charity case free zone." My mother wrote, "Girls, don't be mean. But yeah, this is nice." The room tilted. I sat there in the dark, phone glowing in my hands, and felt something crack open inside my chest. They had a name for me, Charity Case, and this was only message 1. 846 to go. I couldn't stop reading. The messages blurred together at first. Inside jokes I didn't understand. Plans for holidays I'd been told were small gatherings. Photos from events I'd never been invited to. Then I found the nickname thread. Megan. New rule, we call her CC from now on. Aunt Linda. CC? Megan. Charity case. Cousin Amy. Dead. Mom. That's terrible, but also kind of accurate, LOL. Kind of accurate. My own mother. I kept scrolling. Years of messages. Years of laughter at my expense. When I lost my first nursing job at 26, budget cuts, not performance, they celebrated. Aunt Linda. Called it. Knew she couldn't hack it. Megan. How long till she asks Mom for money? Mom. She won't. Too proud. That's the problem with her. When I started dating Marcus? Megan. OMG, CC has a boyfriend, taking bets on how long this lasts. Aunt Linda. I give it 2 years max. Cousin Amy. Optimistic. I say 18 months. They were betting on my relationship, like it was a game. But the worst, the absolute worst, was when they found out I was getting married. Megan. CC is engaged. Aunt Linda. To who? Does he know what he's getting into? Mom. I'll be honest, I'm surprised. Never thought she'd find someone. Megan. Starting the divorce pool now. I got $50 on under 5 years. Aunt Linda. I'll take 3. Mom. You girls are awful. Put me down for 4. My mother bet on my marriage failing. My mother. I sat in the dark, tears streaming down my face, and read every single word. I found the divorce messages at 2 a.m. My hands were cramped from scrolling. My eyes burned, but I couldn't stop. I had to know. I searched for the date. 2 years ago. The week I told my family that Marcus had cheated, that my marriage was over. Megan. Guys, guess what? Aunt Linda. What? Megan. Cece's getting divorced. Aunt Linda. No way. Finally. I knew it. Cousin Amy. Who won the bet? Aunt Linda. Wait, let me check. 4 years and 3 months. That's closest to my 3-year guess. Megan. Ugh, fine. But I was close with 5. Aunt Linda. Pay up, ladies. $50 each. I stopped breathing. They'd actually collected money on my divorce. But it got worse. Mom. Just got off the phone with her. She was crying. Aunt Linda. And? Mom. And nothing. She'll get over it. At least she doesn't have kids. One less grandchild to worry about. Megan. Silver lining. Cousin Amy. Honestly, though, who would cheat on someone that boring? Megan. Right? Like, I'm surprised he waited this long. 47 messages followed. Analyzing my failed marriage, speculating about what I did wrong, celebrating that I was alone. Not one person, not one, asked if I was okay. Not one person suggested reaching out. They just laughed and bet and collected their winnings. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something had shifted. The tears dried on my cheeks. The hurt was still there, but underneath it, something harder was forming, something cold and clear. They'd never seen me as family. Never. And now I had proof. I stopped reading at 3 a.m., not because I'd finished, because I knew what I had to do. I went back to the beginning and started screenshotting. Every message, every laugh react, every betting pool. Methodical, organized. The way I labeled patient charts at work. Folder. Real family only. Complete archive. While I worked, I noticed something from 6 months ago. A conversation that made me pause. Megan. Grandma's getting weird. She has this notebook she writes in constantly. Aunt Linda. What kind of notebook? Megan. IDK, some journal thing. I saw her writing names in it. Mom. She's 69. Probably just keeping track of meds or something. Megan. I saw Cece's name in there, like multiple times. Aunt Linda. Weird. Megan. Right? She's obsessed with her. It's gross. I read that exchange 3 times. Grandma had a notebook. She wrote down names. My name specifically. I remembered what she'd said at Grandpa's funeral, holding my hand in that back pew. I keep track, honey. I always keep track. At the time, I thought she meant emotionally, mentally. But what if she meant literally? What if Grandma knew more than anyone realized? I finished screenshotting at 4:17 a.m., 847 messages, 7 years of evidence, all saved. No one in the chat had noticed I was there. The last message was still from 2 days ago. Everyone was asleep, dreaming their innocent dreams. I opened a new text window. Typed slowly. Thanks for the receipts. Tori. My finger hovered over send. The party was in 4 days. Grandma's 70th birthday. Every single person in that chat would be there. I pressed send. Then I left the group. 4:19 a.m. My phone exploded. Megan calling. Declined. Megan calling again. Declined. Mom calling. Declined. Texts flooding in. Megan. Tori, please pick up. Megan. I was drunk when I added you. I swear it was an accident. Megan. Please, 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 can we talk? Mom. Honey, whatever you read, it's not what it looks like. We were just venting. Every family does this. Aunt Linda. Tori, don't make this a bigger deal than it needs to be. This is private family stuff. Private family stuff. That's what they called 7 years of mockery. More calls, more texts. By 4:45, 67 messages had piled up. Megan. We love you. You know that, right? Sisters joke around. Mom. Please call me back. Let's talk like adults. Aunt Linda. This is why we didn't include you. You're too sensitive. Too sensitive. The woman who bet on my divorce was calling me too sensitive. I turned off my phone. For the first time in hours, silence. Real silence. I walked to my window. The sky was turning gray, dawn coming. I thought about what I could do. Expose them on social media. Forward the screenshots to every relative not in that chat. Burn it all down. But that wasn't me. That wasn't who I wanted to be. Grandma's party was in 4 days. 70 years old. Her whole family would be there. Friends, neighbors, everyone who mattered to her. I wasn't going to ruin her birthday, but I wasn't going to stay silent either. I had a plan, not revenge, something better, truth, and the right moment to tell it. I set my alarm for 7, lay down, and slept better than I had in years. 3 days before the party, Megan showed up at my apartment. I opened the door to find her in full makeup, designer bag clutched to her chest, eyes wet with tears that looked almost real. Tori, please, can we talk? I stepped aside, let her in, said nothing. She perched on the edge of my couch like she was afraid to touch anything. I'm so sorry. You have to believe me. That chat? It got out of hand. We never meant... You bet on my divorce. She flinched. That was Aunt Linda's idea. I went along with it. I was young. You were 22. And you did it again last year when you bet on whether I'd get promoted. You saw that? I saw everything, Megan. The tears stopped. Something harder flickered in her eyes. Calculation. Okay, fine. But you can't tell Grandma. She's fragile. This could literally kill her. I almost laughed. Now you care about Grandma's health? I've always cared. You visited her twice last year. I visited every week. I have a business to run. You have an Instagram account. We stared at each other. Sisters by blood, strangers by choice. I'm going to the party, I said quietly. Because Grandma invited me. What happens there? We'll see. You can't do this to the family. I'm not doing anything. I walked to the door, opened it. I'm just done pretending. Megan stood slowly. At the threshold, she turned. You know, this is why no one likes you. You always have to be the victim. And you always have to be the villain. Guess that makes us even. She left without another word. 3 more days until the party. The day arrived. Clear sky, perfect weather. Grandma's backyard transformed into something out of a magazine. White chairs, string lights, a photographer circling like a well-dressed vulture. I wore a cocktail dress. Navy blue. Understated. I'd done my own research this time. When I walked through the gate, my mother's face went pale. Megan grabbed her arm. Aunt Linda spilled wine on her sleeve. They'd hoped I wouldn't come. Tori! Mom recovered first, smile plastic. You made it. Grandma invited me. Of course she did. For the next 2 hours, I was invisible. When group photos happened, I was directed to the back row. Better lighting up front, Mom explained. You understand? When appetizers were passed, servers walked right by me. When guests asked who I was, Megan answered before I could. Just a cousin. Just a cousin. Her own sister. The photographer gathered us for a family portrait. Mom positioned everyone carefully. Herself next to Grandma, Megan on the other side, Aunt Linda beside them. Tori, honey, can you maybe stand behind? I took my place in the back, partially hidden by Cousin Amy's boyfriend. One of my great aunts, someone who wasn't in the chat, leaned over. Aren't you Diane's older daughter, the nurse? Yes. Why aren't you in the front? You should be with your mother. Before I could answer, Grandma's voice cut through the chatter. Quiet, but clear. Tori, sweetheart, come sit with me for a moment. My mother's smile flickered. Megan's jaw tightened. I walked to Grandma's chair. She took my hand, squeezed it. Stay until the end tonight, she whispered. Grandma has something to say. Her eyes held mine, sharp, knowing. My heart began to pound. The humiliation peaked 2 hours into the party. Megan clinked her glass, stepped up to the portable microphone. 50 guests turned to watch. The photographer positioned himself for the perfect shot. Hi, everyone. I just want to say a few words about my amazing grandmother. What followed was a 5-minute performance. Megan dabbed her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, talked about childhood memories, about how Grandma taught her to bake, about being there through everything. I'm so grateful, Megan concluded, voice trembling beautifully, to be the granddaughter who's been by your side all these years. I love you, Grandma. Applause. Aunt Linda wiped actual tears. My mother beamed. I stood in the back, invisible, and did the math. Megan had visited Grandma maybe 15 times in the past 5 years. I'd been there every single week, every doctor's appointment, every lonely evening, every 3 a.m. phone call when Grandma couldn't sleep. But Megan had 50,000 Instagram followers. She knew how to perform. A distant cousin, one I barely knew, turned to me. Aren't you going to say something? Before I could respond, Megan appeared at my elbow. Oh, Tori's so busy with her nursing job, she doesn't really have time for speeches. She laughed lightly. You know how it is. A few people chuckled. My mother nodded along. I felt the weight of 60 pairs of eyes, some curious, some dismissive, most already looking away. A week ago, I would have smiled and disappeared, but I had 847 reasons to stay. That's okay, I said evenly. Grandma knows who's actually been there. Megan's smile froze. Across the lawn, Grandma caught my eye. She nodded once, almost imperceptibly. Not yet, that nod said. But soon. The party was winding down. Guests gathered their things, said their goodbyes. Then Grandma stood. She moved slowly. 70 years will do that. But her voice carried across the entire yard when she tapped her glass. Everyone, please, stay a moment longer. 60 people went still. Grandma rarely spoke publicly. When she did, people listened. It's my 70th birthday, she smiled. An old woman's allowed to make a speech. Polite laughter. My mother relaxed slightly. I want to talk about family, Grandma continued, about what it really means. Megan straightened her dress, preparing for another round of praise. Specifically, I want to talk about the person who's actually been there for me these past 10 years. The air changed. I felt it before I understood it. Someone who drove me to every doctor's appointment when my heart started failing. Someone who cleaned my house every Sunday. Someone who sat with me through the long nights when I was scared and couldn't sleep. My mother's face had gone gray. Someone, Grandma said, who never posted about it on social media, never asked for credit, never even complained. She turned and looked directly at me. Tori, come here, sweetheart. The crowd parted. I walked forward on numb legs. Grandma took both my hands in hers. This is my granddaughter, my real family. Megan stepped forward. Grandma, that's so sweet, but we're all family. I'm not finished. Megan stopped. Grandma reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled out a small leather notebook. Brown, worn, filled with handwriting. I recognized it. I'd seen it on her nightstand 100 times. I've been keeping records, Grandma said, for 10 years. Everything. And tonight, I'm going to share some of it. Grandma opened the notebook. Her hands were steady. March 15th, 2019. Tori drove me to my cardiology appointment. Megan said she was busy. She flipped a page. August 22nd, 2020. Tori cleaned my house, did my laundry, made me soup. Diane promised to visit but canceled. The silence was absolute. January 5th, 2022. I fell on the stairs. Tori arrived in 20 minutes. Stayed all night. Grandma looked up. Megan posted a spa day on Instagram that afternoon. Megan's face was white. Grandma, I didn't know. September 17th, 2024. Grandma's voice hardened. Tori's divorce was finalized. I called her every day for a month. Her own mother didn't call once. My mother stood frozen, mouth opening and closing like a fish. 10 years of entries, Grandma said. I wrote down everything, every visit, every absence, every excuse. She closed the notebook. I know who showed up, and I know who didn't. The crowd shifted. People were looking at Megan differently now, at my mother, at Aunt Linda. Grandma, Megan's voice cracked. You don't understand. Tori, she's not. We were just. Sit down, Megan. It wasn't a request. Megan sat. My mother finally found her voice. Mom, please, there's been a misunderstanding. We love Tori. We express it differently. Do you? Grandma's eyes were steel. Is that what you call it? The silence stretched. Someone coughed nervously. I stood beside my grandmother, her hands still gripping mine, and watched my family's carefully constructed facade crumble in real time. But Grandma wasn't finished. Not even close. There's something else, she said. Something I learned 6 months ago. Robert, would you please explain? In the crowd, Uncle Robert, Aunt Linda's husband, slowly rose to his feet. Right now, if you're wondering, wait, what's about to happen? I was wondering the exact same thing. Before I tell you what Robert said, I have to ask, do you think Grandma already knew about the group chat? Comment, she knew, or no way, below. And if you're invested in this story, hit subscribe so you don't miss the ending. Okay, back to the party. Robert stood slowly, adjusting his tie. Aunt Linda grabbed his arm. Robert, what are you doing? He looked at her. something unreadable in his eyes. The right thing, finally. He turned to face the crowd. 6 months ago, I accidentally saw a group chat on my wife's phone. It was called Real Family Only. I read through it. Linda's grip tightened. Robert, don't. I read 7 years of messages, Robert continued, steady as a courtroom deposition. Mocking Tori, calling her names, betting on her failures, celebrating her divorce. Gasps rippled through the crowd. People turned to stare at Linda, at my mother, at Megan. I told Eleanor everything, showed her screenshots. Grandma nodded. I've known for 6 months. I've read every message. The ground seemed to tilt beneath my family's feet. Megan stood abruptly. That's private. You had no right. 847 messages, Grandma said quietly. I read them all. Charity case, the bets, the celebration when Tori's marriage ended. Her voice cracked. My own daughter wrote that she was relieved Tori didn't have children. My mother started crying. Mom, I didn't mean... One less grandchild to worry about. Those were your exact words, Diane. The crowd was deathly silent. Some guests looked horrified, others embarrassed, like they'd witnessed something they shouldn't have. Good, I thought. Now they know. I waited, Grandma said. I waited for the right moment. I wanted everyone here, everyone who matters. She looked around the yard. Because I want you all to know who my family really is. Her hand squeezed mine. And I want you to see what happens to people who betray it. Grandma reached into her other pocket and pulled out a folded document. 3 months ago, I had Robert update my will. Linda whipped around to face her husband. You did what? I'm her attorney. Robert's voice was flat. And her family. Megan lunged forward. Grandma, you can't just... I'm 70 years old, Megan. Sound mind, clear heart. This is my decision. She unfolded the paper, read clearly, loudly, so everyone could hear. My house, this house, will go to my granddaughter, Tori Reynolds. She has cared for it, cleaned it, and filled it with love for 10 years. She's earned it. The crowd murmured. Megan looked like she'd been slapped. The remaining assets will be divided equally among my children and grandchildren, as is fair. She looked up, met my mother's eyes. This isn't punishment, Diane. It's balance. Tori gave 10 years of her life to this family without asking for anything. The least I can do is make sure she's not left with nothing. This is insane, Linda hissed. Tori isn't even... She's not really... Not really what? Grandma's voice went cold. Not really family? Is that what you were going to say? In front of everyone? Linda's mouth snapped shut. Tori is my granddaughter, my blood. And more importantly, she showed up, every single time. Grandma turned to the crowd. That's what family means. Not group chats, not Instagram posts, not betting pools on someone's failures. She carefully refolded the document. I've made my decision. It's legal. It's done. Megan started crying. Real tears this time, I think. My mother stared at nothing. Linda looked at Robert like she'd never seen him before. And me? I just held Grandma's hand. Grandma turned to me. Do you want to say anything, sweetheart? 60 faces watched, some sympathetic, some shocked, some, my mother, Megan, Linda, devastated. I stepped forward, let go of Grandma's hand. I'm not going to yell, I said quietly. I'm not going to call anyone names. That's not who I am. Megan wiped her eyes. Tori, please, we can fix this. I have 847 screenshots, Megan. There's nothing to fix. She flinched. For 7 years you had a chat called Real Family Only. You excluded me, you mocked me, you bet on my failures. I looked at my mother. You celebrated the worst day of my life. Mom opened her mouth, closed it. No defense left. So here's what I want to say. I'm done. The word hung in the air. Final. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I'm just done. I looked at each of them in turn. You decided 7 years ago that I wasn't part of your real family. I'm going to respect that decision now. Tori, You can't just cut us off, Linda started. I'm not cutting you off. I'm accepting the boundary you already set. I kept my voice level. You excluded me. I'm simply agreeing with your choice. Silence. I turned to the crowd, to the cousins who weren't in the chat, to Grandma's friends, to the neighbors who'd watched me come and go for a decade. That's all I have to say. I walked back to Grandma's side. She took my hand again. I'm proud of you, she whispered. And for the first time in a very long time, I was proud of me too. The party ended in silence. Guests gathered their things quickly, avoiding eye contact with my mother and Megan. I watched small clusters form, people whispering, glancing over, shaking their heads. My great-aunt Martha, Grandma's neighbor for 30 years, approached me near the garden gate. I always wondered why you weren't in the family photos, she said softly. Now I understand. You knew? I knew something was wrong. You came every week, cleaned, helped, never complained. She squeezed my arm. Your grandmother talked about you all the time, never mentioned the others much. Another guest, someone I didn't recognize, stopped on his way out. I've known Eleanor 40 years. If she says you're her real family, that's good enough for me. Small kindnesses, they added up. Megan tried to approach me one last time. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, designer dress wrinkled. Tori, we need to talk, please. Not tonight. But I said not tonight. She stood there helpless. For once, her Instagram smile couldn't save her. You can't just... I can. I kept my voice calm. And I am. I walked away, left her standing there, standing. My mother sat alone on a white chair, staring at nothing. Guests passed her without speaking. The social queen of every family gathering, suddenly invisible. Aunt Linda was screaming at Robert by the catering table. Words like betrayed and ruined everything carried across the lawn. I didn't feel triumphant, didn't feel victorious. I felt something simpler. Free. Grandma appeared beside me, took my elbow. Help an old woman to her chair? I walked her inside, away from the wreckage of her birthday party. Are you okay, Grandma? She smiled. Best birthday I've ever had. The fallout came in waves. First wave, social media. Someone from the party, I never found out who, posted about it. Not the details, just enough. Witness the most dramatic family revelation today. Group chat exposed, bets on divorce. The quiet sister finally got justice. It spread. Megan lost 5,000 followers in a week. Comments flooded her latest post. A photo of smoothie bowls, with questions she couldn't answer. Is this the girl who bet on her sister's divorce? Wait, is this real? Unfollowed. Can't support people who treat family like that. She turned off comments, then made her account private, then disappeared from Instagram entirely. Second wave, community. My mother's social circle, the book club, the garden committee, the women she brunched with every Sunday, started pulling away. Busy became the default response to her invitations. Word travels fast in small towns, Robert told me over coffee a week later. He'd moved into a hotel. Linda's blaming everyone but herself. Are you two... done? Probably. He stirred his cup slowly. I should have said something years ago. I convinced myself it wasn't my business. Why now? Because I saw those messages. About you. About your divorce. He looked up. I have a daughter. Imagining someone treating her that way. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. That evening, I got a text from cousin Amy, the one who'd laughed at my marriage failing. Hi, Tori. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. I was wrong. I got caught up in what everyone else was doing, and I didn't think about how it would feel to be you. I'm sorry. It wasn't much, but it was something. I know some of you watching right now have been through something similar. Maybe not the exact same situation, but that feeling, being the outsider in your own family, being talked about behind your back, wondering if you're crazy for sensing something wrong. You're not crazy, and you're not alone. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment. Share your story if you feel comfortable. Now, let me finish telling you mine. 3 days after the party, I drove to Grandma's house. She was sitting in her garden, notebook open on her lap, pen in hand. Still writing, still keeping track. Grandma? She looked up and smiled. There's my girl. I sat beside her on the weathered bench, the same bench where we'd sat 100 times before, watching the birds, talking about nothing and everything. Are you upset with me? She asked. Upset? Why would I be upset? Because I knew for 6 months. I could have told you sooner, saved you from going through that chat alone at 3 in the morning. I thought about it. Really thought. Why didn't you? She set down her pen. I wanted to wait for the right moment. If I'd told you privately, they would have denied everything. Called you a liar. Said I was going senile. She shook her head. But in front of 60 people? With Robert to back it up? There was nowhere to hide. You planned this. I'm 70, sweetheart. I've learned a few things. She took my hand. Never act when you're angry. Wait until you're calm, then you'll know what you really want. What did you really want? Justice for my granddaughter, and the truth in the light where everyone could see it. She squeezed my fingers. They'd been hiding in the shadows for 7 years. Time to turn on the lights. We sat in comfortable silence. Birds sang. The afternoon sun warmed our faces. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, Tori, more than you know. She picked up her pen again, opened her notebook. Now, let me write today down. Tori visited, good conversation. She's going to be okay. She was right. I was. 2 weeks later, my mother knocked on my door. She looked smaller somehow, older, no makeup, hair unbrushed. She clutched a photo album to her chest like a shield. Can I come in? I stepped aside. Didn't say yes. Didn't say no. She sat on my couch, the same spot Megan had occupied weeks ago. She opened the album, baby pictures, my first steps, my kindergarten graduation. I don't know where I went wrong, she whispered. You were my first baby. I loved you so much. Then what happened? She stared at the photos. I was ashamed of my first marriage, of failing. When I married Megan's father, I wanted to start fresh. And you, she finally looked up. You were a reminder of everything I wanted to forget. It wasn't an excuse, but it was honest. That's not my fault, Mom. I know. Tears streamed down her face. I know that now. I've always known. I couldn't face it. We sat in silence, a lifetime of hurt between us. What do you want? I asked finally. To fix this, to be your mother again. That's going to take time. I know. I'll do whatever. 3 months. No contact. After that, we can try. Slowly. She blinked. 3 months? But Christmas. You had 7 Christmases in a chat that called me charity case. I kept my voice steady. 3 months isn't long. She flinched, but she didn't argue. At the door, she paused. I am sorry, Tori. I know words don't mean much right now, but I am. Then prove it. In 3 months. She left. I closed the door. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a door left open. Maybe that was enough for now. Megan tried everything. Phone calls, emails, showing up unannounced, sending gifts. A $200 flower arrangement arrived one morning with a card. I miss my sister. Please. M. I donated the flowers to the hospital. 3 weeks after the party, a letter appeared in my mailbox. Handwritten, 6 pages. I read it all. Every word. She wrote about growing up jealous of my relationship with Grandma, about feeling like second best despite having the better clothes, the better grades, the better Instagram following, about starting the chat because she wanted somewhere to belong, somewhere she was the favorite. I know I can't undo 7 years, she wrote, but I want you to know I understand now. I was cruel because I was scared. That doesn't make it okay. Nothing makes it okay. I sat with that letter for a long time. Then I wrote back. 1 page, clear and final. Megan, I received your letter. I understand you have reasons for what you did. Reasons aren't excuses. I don't hate you. I'm not angry anymore. But I also don't want a relationship with you. You spent 7 years treating me like an outsider. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life trying to prove I belong. I wish you well. I genuinely hope you find peace with yourself. But I can't be part of that journey. Please don't contact me again. Tori. I mailed it the next morning. She didn't respond, didn't show up, didn't try again. Maybe she finally understood. Or maybe she just gave up. Either way, the result was the same. One less person in my life who never really wanted me there. It should have felt like loss. Instead, it felt like breathing. 3 months later. I'm writing this from Grandma's living room. My living room now, sort of. She insisted I stay in the guest room until she decides to kick the bucket. Her words, not mine. She's in the garden, notebook open, pen scratching away, still keeping track. My mother and I have talked twice, brief conversations. Careful, she's trying, actually trying. Whether it's enough, I don't know yet. But the door is open. Megan is a stranger now. I see her posts sometimes. Her account is public again, rebuilt around healing and growth. Maybe she means it. Maybe it's just another performance. Either way, it's not my concern anymore. Robert and Aunt Linda finalized their divorce last month. He sends me Christmas cards now. We're not close, but we're something. Allies, maybe. Amy, cousin Amy, who laughed at my divorce, has apologized 3 more times. We grabbed coffee last week. It was awkward, but not terrible. And me? I still work 60 hours in the ICU. Still live alone. Still eat dinner standing over the sink more often than I should. But something's different. I don't feel like I'm waiting for permission anymore. Permission to belong, to be seen, to matter. Grandma said something to me yesterday while we watched the sunset from her porch. You know what the best part of getting old is? What? You stop caring what people think. You just live. I'm trying to do that now. Live. Not perform, not prove. Just exist, exactly as I am. I didn't lose my family. I lost the illusion of one. And for the first time in 32 years, I think I'm finally free. That's my story. 847 messages, 7 years of secrets, and one grandmother who changed everything. If you're in a toxic relationship, family, friend, partner, remember this. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors you get to control. Tell me your thoughts in the comments, subscribe if you want more stories like this, and check the description for more. Thank you for being here.